Good day, students, and welcome on this video. By the way, I am Miss Resa Macy Laigan, and on this video, we're going to talk about the review of related literatures. I know that this is one of the most challenging part in doing your research because having a good research needs a consultation of your related literatures. So, I have here a question about why do you need to conduct a review of related literature? So especially when we do a research proposal or a research project, we really need to verify our topic with the related literatures. So these are the common reasons on why we need to conduct a review of related literature. Because as I've said a while ago, having a good research needs to validate with the review of related literature. So you have to consult the topic with regards with the existing related literature. So actually, related literatures provide you an overview about the data sources and methods used by other researchers. So you have this topic, you have the problem that you want to address, but you don't know what are you going to do. So you do research, you do review of related literature. So you read the literature made by other people or the researches made by other researchers. So in order to have an enough knowledge or an understanding about the data sources and methods that are applicable in your research. So you can also identify the gaps in the existing body of knowledge that need to be addressed by your study. So in identifying the gaps, we have already a lots of existing researches, but you have to identify what are the gaps, what are the things that you need to consider, no, that will add value to your study. And you may see what has not been investigated and may get an idea on how you conduct your research. As I've said, you have this topic, but you don't know what you're going to do. So you need to have a consultation from your related literatures so that you will get an idea on how to conduct your research. And you may find out what has not been investigated. So these are the gaps that you need to fill in. And you may learn how what others found out and how they measured concepts. So we will be able to learn from the others. So what are the findings of the other researches, or what are the answers, no, in order to attempt the problem that we are going to address by our study. So this is no the advantage of having or conducting a review of related literature. And also, you need these related literatures to provide evidences in supporting the findings of your study. So, hindi lang siya hanggang sa chapter 2 lang, yung review of related literature. So, the details or the things that you find out from the other evidences or from your related literature, where you will be used that as your supporting evidence in your chapter 4 or in discussing your findings. So take note that in reviewing related literatures, it demands a lot of time as you have to read not just one journal or article, but also many of them. In research, you don't need to have your opinion, so you need those facts, and those facts will be gathered from the review of related literature. So you have to read and read and read over again, not just only one journal or an article, but a lot of them. So it's really quite demanding, no? It consumes time, energy, and of course, focus, because you really have to understand, not just to read those literatures, but to understand what have you read from those literatures. Okay? So what is a literature review? So a literature review provides scholarly context that are relevant with your research topic or research paper. So it provides you an overview about what your topic is all about, or those relevant, no, with your research paper. So this helps your readers on how the context of your study fits into past and present scholarly discussion of your topic. So you have to assess, you have to verify the past studies and also the recent studies which are related, no, to your topic. So these are the basic steps in making a literature, and this is really important. So first S is we have survey. So you have to survey important sample of related articles, books, journals, studies, and other related literatures. And you have to ensure that those articles or those literatures should be relevant to your research topic, insight on how you will solve the existing problem or the main problem that you want to address. So another is we have to summarize. After we survey related literatures, we have to summarize the contents of those related literatures. So you really need to take note of the following. Of course, the author's field of expertise, the types of evidence that the author relies on, the author's point of view, the author's arguments, and the author's findings of the study conducted. So these are really important to take note, especially when doing a review of related literatures. And last, you have to synthesize and summarize those works in a purposeful manner. So in doing your review of related literature, maybe your advisor or your research teacher will give you a guide on how you conduct, on what things you are going to research, on what things you are going to study. So you have to synthesize those summary of your related literature in a purposeful manner. So it doesn't necessary to copy paste or to copy what's on your related literature. So you really need to get the important details which are also helpful in supporting your study. So we have here the reviewing of policy issues. So we have this problem. And maybe this problem, there are already existing policies in attempt to solve that problem. But first, let me discuss to you about what is a policy. So when we say policy, this refers to the set of guidelines and principles of action adopted, or it could be proposed by a government, business, or individual to achieve rational outcomes, especially in solving a specific problem. So there are existing policies attempt to solve that problem, but the implementation of this policy maybe have loopholes, and you have to assess that loopholes or the success of that policy, so that policymakers, when they read your research paper, they will find out, what are the loopholes of the policies, or what are the things that you need to improve the policy in order to solve the problem. So in reviewing policy issues, it is really important as it provides you an overview about the lapses and or the success of the implemented policy. So in order to identify that if there are lapses and or success, you really need to provide statistics. You really need to provide enough data to support the claim that this policy have lapses or this policy is successful. So in reviewing policy issues, you have to consider the current issues or problems encountered upon the implementation of the policy. So you really need to assess about the effectiveness of the policy, the implementability of the policy, what are the ethical considerations that the policy consider, or the efficiency of the policy. And maybe you could evaluate this policy relevant to the other approaches. So I have here an example of a policy issue review. So the studies about the effect of financial attitude, behavior, and literacy to financial wellness of the senior high school students in MSU IIT IDS. So this is just only a brief policy review. And actually, a policy review, it's require in-depth critical analysis. So on this, their main topic is about the financial literacy in the Philippines. This is just only the part of the research paper, the part of the policy issue. So the authors showed what is the status of the Philippines in terms of the financial literacy compared to the other countries. So as you notice that in Asia Pacific, Philippines ranked 11th and have a 62 score in terms of financial literacy. So this is way back 2015. So in global ranking, Philippines is at the bottom of 30 in the financial literacy survey Standard and Poor's research. So this is the instrument that the researcher conducted or used in order to identify the global ranking or to identify the financial literacy of the Philippines. So in addition, it was found out that there are only 25% of Filipinos who are financially literate. So on these statistics, we can perceive that not all Filipinos or majority of Filipinos are not really that financially literate. So making it makes this actually there is an impact of this, no, especially in gaining access towards financial services or maybe in making financial decisions. Year 2016, the department government educational institutions, particularly DepEd, CHED, and TESDA, with coordination by the NEDA, they mandate to conduct activities in economic and financial literacy. So which aims, no, through Republic Act of 10922 of 2016 or Economic and Financial Literacy Act, through this, no, they will raise consciousness and expand the knowledge of the youth. So in this policy, the state also recognizes that financial literate people who make sound financial decisions, manages savings, and provide and share ideas on the improvement of economic and financial policies and programs will contribute to the potential of the country to grow and flourish. Of course, if you have good financial decisions, you can contribute significantly to the potential growth of the country. So, however, in 2018, the Philippine News Agency have reported that Philippines' financial literacy level boosted, maybe because of the educational focus programs. So, this is actually how you will do your policy issue review. So you have to identify the policy, you have to identify the current status, which shows that there a seriousness of the problem or is there a success of the policy. So you just not only focus with the negative side. You don't have to be biased as a researcher. You have to be fair. So you have also to identify if there are success of this policy or if there are issues or failures in implementing the policy. So let's move on with the theoretical literatures. So when we say theoretical literatures, this includes the theories that are relevant and can be applied in your research study. Actually, a theory provides an answer or a tentative answer of your research problem. So it provides theoretical evidences that would support the findings of your study because again, theories provide a tentative answer of this specific problem or of a certain problem. So the main purpose of reviewing theoretical literatures is to examine the assumptions of a theory that can address an issue, concept, or phenomena. Because as I've said, it provides a tentative answer. So this helps establish an overview of existing theories, the relationship between them, to what degree these have been investigated, and to develop new hypotheses to be tested. So take note in reviewing theoretical literatures, you have to make sure that those theories are related with your topic or related with your thesis. So don't just get the theory because you feel that this is related to my study. So you have to have this guide question. So you have already your main purpose, you have already your main problem. Does this theory answer or tentatively answer this problem? So this is often used to assess the gaps of the existing theoretical literature. So you have to conduct the assumptions of the theoretical theories that you believe that these theories are related in your study. So from the theoretical literature, let's proceed with the empirical literature. So these are the studies already conducted and established by other researchers. The review of empirical literatures examines the past and recent empirical studies to address a certain issues with the use of scientific method and investigation. And take note that in reviewing your empirical literature, you have to make sure that those studies, as much as possible, should be latest. Okay? Because you address a latest problem. So you have also to provide evidences or to provide related literatures that are also latest. Okay? So I will give you tips on how to review a related literature. In reviewing empirical literatures, you have to consider the following: the author who conducted that study, the date that study was established, and you have to make sure that the date should be recent, the main purpose of the empirical study, the scope of the study, and the variables or factors that were assessed and or used in the study. And most importantly, the main findings of the study. Because there are other empirical literatures, they use the same method, they use the same variables, but maybe different in scope. But the findings of the study are not the same. There are contrasts between these findings, this paper, and this other paper. So you really need to assess those empirical literatures. So on this, when the reader reads your empirical literature, there are comparing and contrasting among empirical studies. It will increase the curiosity of that reader to find out on this study, on this research paper, what is the result? What will be the result? So that's it. Okay? So I have here an example of the abstract. I get the abstract instead getting the whole paper because the paper is too long. But I recommend you to assess the whole papers. So this is my paraphrase or the paraphrase of the abstract is Empirical Literature Review. So Pamulka et 2020, this is the author with the year, conducted a study which evaluates financial literatures in the financial ratios rather in the Indonesian construction industry. So this is the main findings. The study employed methods of data collection and analysis of firm annual reports and financial statements. So this is already the method, and modified traditional financial ratios such as liquidity, leverage, activity, and profitability ratios are adopted from Construction Financial Management Association and are assessed to support the purpose of the study. So these are the variables. So the study reveals that this is the main findings, that Indonesian firms in construction industry obtained a satisfactory performance in terms of its financial ratios. The profits and returns generated and construction works are still satisfactory. So this main finding answers the main purpose, right? Because you have to assess or evaluate financial ratios in the Indonesian construction industry. So again, in doing empirical literature review, you don't need to copy paste. You just need to summarize and synthesize the important information. You have to do this checklist as your checklist in doing your empirical literatures. Then you merge the ideas, and you can get this review. This would end our video for today, and I hope you learned something about the reviewing of related literature. Again, this is Miss Resume again, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.